So I want to talk a little bit more about the whole gun debate in Canada because it's a very important issue, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are, very political and whatnot. They don't really care about this kind of stuff, but the government banning guns is the first step towards justifying banning anything. And I made a video the last time about when this issue was hot in the news, which it still kind of is, but not quite to the same extent, about how the Toronto City Council or the Toronto police chief said that I believe it was 82, 83% of guns recovered in crimes are illegal to begin with. In other words, an outright gun ban would have at most like a 17% effect on crime, and that's assuming that they prevented 100% of the remaining and crime and all that kind of stuff, which is absolutely insane to think about. If they could get like a 10 or 20% drop, that would be very good. And so we're talking about maybe a 2, 3, 4% drop in crime if the city banned guns, which you want to see saying that a 2 or 3% drop is worth it spending insane amounts of money to do. I would say you'd have to be insane to suggest that. And we've had police chiefs. I know the Toronto police chief basically debunked the argument that a gun ban would work. I think there was one other one in Halifax or somewhere. Now we have the one in Winnipeg saying that a gun ban wouldn't do anything. And you have this story here that the Winnipeg City Councilor calls for a gun ban. And like I say too, whenever the left talks about this kind of stuff, they completely ignore the reality that the actual experts don't want this kind of stuff because they know it won't work. They know that the overwhelming majority of guns are already illegal that are used in crime, and even if they are illegal, it's already highly illegal to have a loaded gun in public, especially a restricted gun. That would be another charge on top of it. You'd be looking at at least a year in jail getting caught with a loaded handgun in public, I think, unless they've changed the mandatory minimums on that. But like I say, if you're already looking at like a 25-year murder charge or like a 10-year armed robbery charge, like is another 6 months or a year on top of that really going to do anything to sway your mind? Well, of course it is. And you're looking at, 25 years is not enough to sway my mind to bring this gun with me to kill someone. But 26 is like, come on, like you're insane to suggest that. And we know that the increased gun control doesn't work. Like I said, I've made videos about this. I can continue to make videos about it. One of the first videos I ever made on this channel was basically debunking the idea that gun control reduces crime. And basically, there's a few arguments to make. Number one, Canada's gun control hasn't reduced Canada's murder rate. It's very slight. I think it's like 0.1%, or not 0.1, 0.1 on the per 100,000. So it's extremely low. It's almost not even noticeable the difference between Canada's the lowering in crime. Not to mention the amount of gun owners and guns has gone way up in that amount of time. When you look at the states, so people see the states as having a higher murder rate than Canada and looser gun control, and they immediately correlate that to meaning that more guns means more crime and less guns and more gun control means less crime. And what that's a classic correlation causation fallacy, and that's number one, the states had a much higher murder rate about 25, 30 years ago. I mean, even if you go back the last 50 years, the US murder rate is lowest right now, even though they have more than double the amount of guns they had 20, 30 years ago. The amount of constitutional carry states has doubled roughly in that amount of time. Constitutional carry states don't have higher murder rates than non constitutional carry states or the US average. Now, constitutional carry means that anyone who can legally own a gun can conceal or open carry a gun anywhere in public unless it's like a courthouse or a police station or anywhere that the guns aren't already banned, basically. And other states, like it's basically impossible to get a concealed carry. So the gun control within the states varies greatly. The gun control within Canada doesn't vary whatsoever. It's the same with whatever province you're in. So to take the US as having a higher murder rate and correlating with the gun control, you first have to correlate the states with looser gun control and more guns having a higher murder rate before you can make that comparison. Because if that doesn't correlate, then it doesn't make any sense. And like I say, if if the state has a higher murder rate because of looser gun control, then constitutional carry states should have a higher murder rate, which they don't. And not only that, I believe 3 out of the 4 states with the lowest murder rate are constitutional carry states. So the idea that looser gun control means more crime is not true whatsoever. And a lot of the people also talk about, well, oh, you need to have a certain amount of training. If you have people that have no training, then it's going to be chaos. And again, that's also not true, because constitutional carry, you don't need training, and yet you still don't have a higher murder rate. And like I say, if you were to kill someone believing it's self-defense, you'd still get put up for second degree or third degree, whatever, maybe manslaughter. I don't know exactly what it would be, but it would still be a charge, and it would still be correlated in the crime rates and the murder rates and stuff like that. So the whole point being here is that in Canada, the government, they want to ban guns because they want to be able to propose and pass draconian laws, anti-free speech laws, insanely high taxes. And if the populace is armed, well, we could say, well, F you, we're not going to put up with this kind of stuff. And if if we called them on their bluff, well, they wouldn't be able to put that kind of stuff in. And I know people think of this kind of thing as kind of archaic and old and doesn't really mean anything anymore, but it really does. Because if the government want, like, let's say that let's just say hypothetically, Alberta is really mad at the federal government, and provincially we stop paying the carbon tax, and the government says, no, you're going to pay your carbon tax, and we say, no, come make us pay it. What are they going to do? Well, they're probably going to send people to force us to pay. If we fight back, well, those kind of people don't want to risk losing their lives over nothing, basically, over something very trivial, right? So they're not going to do that kind of stuff. And which is exactly why you see the states within the U.S. that have proposed, like in Virginia and some of these other states that have kind of dampened their gun control proposals, is that these kind of people are like, well, no, if you want to take our guns, you're gonna have to come take it by force. And police don't want to risk losing their lives. They're not getting paid enough. The military does. They don't want to risk losing their lives. They're not getting paid enough. And a lot of these military and police are not even trained, arguably less than some of these militia guys. Some of these guys shoot all the time, and I mean they probably do shoot more than most police, most military. So it would be a fairly even fight, and I think that the police and the military would be outmanned. And they wouldn't just, oh, we'll just nuke the area or whatever. They don't want to just nuke it. The whole point of imposing a draconian law is to have power over people and to impose your will. If they just wanted to nuke it, they do it in the first place. They wouldn't even worry about imposing a draconian law. So that's kind of the whole point about the video, is that in Canada there's a lot of calls for gun control. It's not going to work. It's not going to do anything. But the government wants to put it in because the government in Canada is a liberal government right now. And when you're a liberal government, you want to have the state having being as big and as powerful as humanly possible. And an armed populace stands in the way of that. So they want to get rid of the guns because of that, basically. So I'll leave it there. If you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.